guys?
I'm doing great. I'm actually awake. We're doing migrant. We're doing migrant. We're working in the nights also.
Wow.
In the morning, I'm still alive.
Get you some coffee.
Later on, I'll be brain dead.
I know. It's a little bit challenging, huh?
No, but we're almost done. This is the last one.
I know. Mike, I just wanted to make sure that my volume is up completely and it's okay.
Hi, everyone. I see Mike and Van and Lisbeth.
Okay, I know a few people aren't going to be able to join us today. I think Maria was one of them. Myra can't. So we'll wait. Maybe we'll wait like a minute or two and get maybe a couple more people can join us.
Yeah, Mike, I just wanted to make sure that my volume is okay for.
Test it. Do a little test run. Like, share your screen, put on a video.
Okay. How is everybody doing? Okay, so share my screen will be.
We've got some really exciting news while she does that. Heidi has been working on our submission to AmChip to evaluate our programs, and CCD got a promising practice, and Health Connections got a best practice, which is.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. No, we cannot hear that.
No?
No. Do you see the volume?
I see the volume on the right side of my computer. It's all the way up.
On the YouTube video? See the little volume on the YouTube video? Left, yeah, right there. Okay. Let me. Okay. I'll come to your computer and check it out.
Thank you. Like it's super loud on mine.
Weird. Okay, let me see. Stop share.
Like.
Okay, hear that. Can you hear that?
Can you guys hear that? No.
You know what? I might be able to share it. Let's see. Chat. Let me go try that real quick, and then we'll get started. Okay. Let's be cool with that. All right. So what we're gonna try and do is.
Dan, are you there? Can you hear us?
Tell me if you can hear this. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're ready for the video, Kathia, just let me know and I'll do it for you.
All right.
All right.
So we're ready, right?
I think so.
Uh-huh. Oh, hi, Van.
She's on mute, but we see you, Van.
Okay. So today I'm going to talk about generational difference in the workplace. Actually, let me go ahead and make this big and share my screen. And so here we go. Here I think it is where I can make it. Wait, is this where yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, so I would like to know how many of you know what generations is. I mean, how many of you know, or do you know what generation do you belong to?
I don't know what generation I belong. I know I was born in 59. But I guess what it means is that depending on the period of time that you are born, that there's going to be certain qualities or certain values or certain things, perhaps because of age,
Yeah.
how old we are, that we're going through also. So it may not be just because of the year that we were born, but because the age we are, that we have a different perspective from others.
Correct. That is a very good and close by. Anybody else? Do you guys know what generation do you belong to?
In my trainings, I tell people that I'm an elder millennial.
and we're gonna understand why you're an elder millennial too. So, anyone else?
I'm a baby boomer.
Baby boomers rock. Yes. Okay. So, something that I didn't understand at the very beginning when I came to this country was actually generations, because it's a big thing here in United States. And so it is kind of worldwide at some point, but there are some people from international countries or other places that actually don't give too much of an importance to it. And it's not something that is like everyone speaks about. So yes, as I was talking, what is a generation? So a generation is a body of living beings constituting a single step in the line of descent from an ancestor. There's several different, what's the name I'm looking for? Descriptions of a generation. A group of individuals born and living contemporaneously, the younger generation. A group of individuals having contemporaneously a status, hold on, let me move my thing, such as that of students in a school, which is each one holds only for a limited period. This one is kind of like when they said, oh, I'm from the generation of the grads 1986, or if you, I'm from the generation of like class 2005. And so that is why they talk about like generations of schools. So here they are. If you don't know what generation do you belong to, is my this little thing on your way or not? Are you guys okay? Can you read this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the silent generation was the one before they even invented generations. So the silent, it was if you were born between 1925 and 1945, and the youngest person will be like 74, and the oldest today will be 94. And these are the people that were traditionals, the ones that built, where we are now, the builders of cities, the builders of laws, the builders of other things, government and building of some cultures and stuff. So these are the people that did that. So now you guys can see the boomers are 1946 when they were born, and then 1964 is when they were, so they're like 55 or 75, which is Ben. Ben is one of the boomers. So they're also called boomerangs generation, sandwich generation, primary generation. So the baby boomers is something that we have heard more about. I actually had to Google baby boomers like 20 years ago when I got here. I'm like, what is a baby boomer? I didn't know what that was. So the Gen Xers are where I will fall into that category. My birth is in 1969, so 1965 to 19. So these people are 43 years old today and 53. The youngest are 43 and 54. This is the 13. They're also called the 13th generation, baby busters, Reagan's generation. Gen Xers are the people that are 1977 born, and as you can see, they're like 24 to 42 years old, and they're called millennials. Gen Y, Gen Next, Generation, hold on, let me move this, Generation Now, and My Pod, and Baby Boomlets. Some of these generations we have, I mean, these names I hadn't heard of before, but I learned when I took this class. The Gen Xers are, some of them are our children that were born in these places. So they're like from 9 to 23, like my children actually fall into the Gen Z actually zone. And the Gen Alpha will be kind of like Lisbeth's children and Mike's children. These are the children that are -6 to 8 years old today. And they're called Gen Alpha so far. So we're going to find out eventually what are the other names that are coming through that. So Henry Tashfeld proposed that stereotyping is based on a normal cognitive process, the tendency to base on a normal cognitive process, the tendency to group things together. So it cautions us to be careful, because in doing so, we tend to exaggerate, like perhaps the differences between groups, the similarities of things in the same group. So here, wait, let me go back. How do I go back? Hit what? Mike, how do I go back?
The left arrow.
Oh, here we go. There you go. Sorry. So I have to move this thing. Sometimes it's a little bit in my way to read. Prejudice, like attitude, unsupported generalization about the category of people, stereotyping, beliefs, oversimplified or exaggerated image of a group, discriminations, behaviors directed towards people based on their groups. So the workforce is changing and has never been as varied as it is today. By 2025, millennials will comprise the majority, and Gen Z, a third of the workforce. Yo, this is a little bit like scary, because it's like 2025 is like in 5 years. So it is like funny how we're going to be totally under the majority of the workforce with these generations. And you know how like some people are like, oh my God, these millennials, oh my God, these millennials. And so what world are we going to live in? So it is, how like this is going to like at least show us a little bit of how to work with each other and how to figure it out, how we think, so we can actually understand. This workshop is actually a workshop of 3 or 4 hours, but I try to like make it all fit into an hour, only like to give us an idea of how at least we can understand each other, how we work together. So in addition, competition for skilled workers is increasing, allowing talent to negotiate perks that matter to them, such as flexible schedules, an alternative work arrangement. So like report found that only 42% of responders organizations are primarily made up of salary employees, not like the baby boomers. Organizations are anticipating an increase in contract, freelancing, gig, and crowdsourced workers, all working variety of settings and within flattened organizational structures, a change from the traditional hierarchy with only full-time and part-time classification. So in these cases, people are actually looking for, like in 2025, some companies are going to be looking for, like I said, they're going to be like, you can work from home, you can work far, you can stay, you can do other things because of the technology. We're going to be able to do so many things and not that 8 to 5 traditional thing that you have to be in the office 8 to 5 and you're not able to do anything. We're a little bit flexible and very advanced in this way with PASOs, because we at PASOs have a chance to actually work from afar sometimes, depending on the places that we are. So new approaches to communication and expectations around work hours, places, balances in life. We know that millennials are really, really big on new in balancing life. So new engagement styles, collaborative approaches on teams during this decisions making and from leadership and management, a global outlook and integrated approach to technology is going to be changing. So I was going to do some of the objectives, which is actually, I should have done it, excuse me, first, but it's just to demonstrate the knowledge and understanding, like I said, of different generations in the workplace, and identifies the skills that we all have, that we effectively, engage and manage across generations, and how we can collaborate with each others and enhance those skills and abilities related to intergenerational communication among us. So why do we group people by generations? Can somebody tell me why do we group people by generations?
I would say because different historical events and cultural trends and factors all kind of contribute to this collective identity that people share and identify with, which shapes the way that they interact with each other and reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Mike. I think that, because, there are certain events that happen at the time that we were growing up that perhaps mark us a lot. Like for me, the 60s, the 70s.
Yeah. Economies, global forces, technology, all that stuff.
So identifying commonalities in interests, values, and backgrounds can aid to you finding a best friend or a significant other, believe it or not, among your generation. And you are right. Both of you are right.
It's because we're anthropologists.
I know.
Well, but I think I like what you said, because even though perhaps historically we may have gone through the same things, personally, individually, we have not gone through the same things. So there's a lot of diversity too. And I like what you're talking about here, that, about the differences on the groups, because there are, we're individuals that also take what happens out in the world and assimilate it in different ways.
Correct. And actually, yes, perfect. And that is a perfect segue, Jahaira, because there are many things that affect us, even being from a generation, like family and kinship, like gender, like occupation, ethnicity. How about culture, nationality, religion, political philosophies, dress styles, community type, race, interests, hobbies and leisure, knowledge, sentiments, generation and age, socioeconomic status, musical preferences, and sexual preferences. So you are right about all of these things that could actually impact us within our generation. So we need to be careful about beware of us versus them on the teams. Therefore, we divided the world into them and us, socially based through a process of social categorization. For example, but people into social, por ejemplo, I said it in Spanish, by example. We put people into social groups, and we have to be aware of that and be careful, because we cannot categorize and just tell them, oh, you're a baby boomer, oh, you're a Gen Xer, or you're like a millennial, so you must be this and you must be that, or you must think alike. And this is known as in a group, it's important to use the us and out group, because otherwise you out them of the group within themselves. And so social identity theory states that the in group will discriminate against the out group to enhance their self-image. And this happens at work. This happens in works and teams. And so it caught my attention where it says they and us, and we're cool, and because we're cool, but then, they are over there. It would be because, she's older, or she's from another generation, or because she doesn't have the same beliefs, or, than us. We do pretty well here at PASOs, but we still have to be very careful of using the us versus them. The central hypothesis of social identity theory is that group members of an in-group will seek to find negative aspects of an out-group, thus enhancing their self-image. And we can see that, especially now, of us going, oh my God, you know, and millennials are very offended by it. When you're like, oh yeah, you millennials, oh yeah, you millennials, we categorize in this. Or yeah, we all know that, you know, oh, you like old people from da generation, that you're like, think that you have to be in the office all the time and you have to. So we need to be very careful and make sure that we really, because all these things that I listed here are actually make a big difference in, like Jahaira said, in what generation, but then also what the beliefs are within an individual. So, when we categorize people, we also often tend to exaggerate the difference between groups and similarities within groups. And like, oh, all cheerleaders are mean girls, or all smart people are nerds, or all jokes are dumb, or this stereotype or exaggerated image of a group may not be true for all members. To take this one step further, social identity theory states that groups will identify in groups. And so we need to be careful of that. I brought some like of the percentages, which you can see here. I'm trying to get it away from me. 30 to 40% of people self-identify with another generation. And like Mike was saying before, I am, what was it, Mike, that you said? You're a millennial what?
An elder millennial.
So you are a cusper. And that's when we understand why. Cusper is a person who is born within 3 to 5 years of the generational divide. So just because you were born in 1969 or 1970 something, you have to belong or do or have all the characteristics of that generation. So persons born between 3 to 3 years of a generation divide may favor and display characteristics from both relative generations. So Mike, that's when you think, so that's why you're probably like millennial Gen Xer, because you call yourself an elder. And then you're right there within that you know, that spectrum of 3 to 5 years of being born in one generation, but there's some years between the one and the other. So you might have some like display some different characteristics. Both relative generations, they're the folks that cement, like, you know, their characteristics from both, like they were saying, relative generations. They're the folks that cement the generations together. They function as mediators, translators, and mentors. And this was by Lancaster and Stillman, 2003. So tell me how many of you knew this? How many of you knew that you can be actually the glue that binds one generation to another one?
I felt it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel the swimming in different waters, and I like identifying with the younger. I'm cool like the cool kids, you know. That's what I try to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the cool dad.
And I didn't, because really I never thought, you know, I see differences, of course, with the younger people, but I assume it's normal because of their experience and because of the changes in culture, society, etc.
Correct. So that, exactly. See, so this is really cool to help us understand where we come from and to understand that you're not like in limbo. You're not like, well, I think that I belong here, but I don't know where I, like on the other side, what would it be? So imagine this, like, you know, these things happening at work. You know, this is just us as people, as individuals outside of work. Imagine this happening at work. So then we have to be, you know, able to work with others, and then you need to display, you know, tolerance, because, you know, there's many problems that happen among, you know, the teams and people that are like, you know, they can be following negative behaviors by employees, like, you know, bullying, ostracizing, criticizing, not sharing information. That happens sometimes. Some personalities and some people are like, no, I'm not sharing that information. I made it, it's mine. And so unless it has to do with, you know, with having, you know, with, I'm looking for the word that I always forget. Unless it has to do with kind of like the job that Ben does, that not everybody has access to everything because she's got like, what's the word I'm looking for, Ben? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay. Now, what's this? What was it now? I apologize.
Oh, about if anybody, like, you know, that some people don't share information, but I was like saying, like, not you, because the job that you do sometimes is the job that it has to be
Confidential information?
Confidential. Thank you so much. So gossip also, you know, is very, it destroys people, and sometimes it has to do because we just have, some of us have more skills than others, some of us do things better, but then also the older people contribute to like wisdom, to like experience, to other things that we have, you know, that we are actually pretty good at it because we live longer. And so, you know, sometimes we need to be aware of those things. So consider the risks always of categorizing, you know, the process. Like in interview panels, they were giving an example, like when you are hiring someone, which is what is going on right now, you know, we need to be careful of in interview panels to select only people like them, because it happens out or creating work teams that are homogeneous in appearance, values, and thoughts. We have to be careful about the way they choose someone that they click with, because some people tend to hire the people that is like them, the people that look like them. And this is an unconscious bias. Some groups are hired like, and this happens often in the United States, where like even a Latino or an African American, you know, there are some companies that are like, yeah, we're inclusive, but you're not, because everybody there is the one race or color. So we have to be very careful about those things too, in grouping people. So it is says here that unconscious bias and homogeneous. Is that what I'm saying correctly? Homogeneous? Is that correct? Homogeneous?
Homogeneous.
Homogeneous. Thank you, Mike. Yeah. Actually, like differences, like teams that are, you know, different. Actually, we tend to be innovative and take the organization into the future. When everybody looks and does and acts or similar to everyone else, they're actually not into the future. When we're all different in the place, we actually can take a team forward and make it happen. So, Mike, if you don't mind, can you play that video for me? I'm gonna like let you see a video. So sometimes it's funny. I thought it was very funny in some ways because it helps you understand a team working together with different generations and how we think, how we're like, how do you call this? How we are wired and brain. There you go.
Millennial, Gen X, Boomer, Traditionalist.
It's like my kid, if they forget the phone, it's like they're gonna die.
My phone doesn't leave like a 6-inch radius from me. they're like, oh, these kids with their tech gadgets, you know, all we have is newspapers and abacus.
He just showed us the different generations because he couldn't remember.
That is definitely my generation. I like that.
I prefer a quick, right to the point answer, no back and forth email. I have a hard time adapting to sending emails. So sometimes my bosses get a little frustrated, but I'm a millennial. I check social media probably like 50 or 60 times a day.
I mean, that's pretty serious, but yes, I would.
The ones that are in Gen X and then the baby boomers, they're a little bit more, don't want to be in the spotlight, where millennials like to be praised and they like that constant feedback.
I don't know about like not reading it entirely, but like definitely like
skimming it. Great.
You're saying at least before, huh? Multiple people, multiple generations looking at the same problem.
That's 4 different answers that may answer the same question, but in a different style.
Now you have so many new things to learn. Like, let's move on to the next thing.
It gave me a lot of thought into the different generations that work here. I mean, we need each other.
It's really good.
Okay, so what do you guys think?
What?
Did you identify with any of those people and how you have ever thought about?
Well, for me, it's my experience. Up until a few years ago, I was by myself. I did whatever, and you know, I did it the way I wanted to do it. And then came Maribel, and then came Patricia, and then it's been amazing. It took me time to accept that. It took me time to get accustomed. It took me time to hear other ideas, other ways to do things. But now I can say I have a lot of fun. And actually I welcome their input, because like what we did for the Garnet, Gift for Garnet, that was so much fun. We laughed so much. I would have never thought of doing that. So really, so I'm learning to appreciate their youth, their knowledge, and they appreciate mine, so it's been amazing. Here it's been amazing.
What I liked about the video was kind of like thinking along the lines of diversity, inclusion, and the benefits, like what Yahaira is saying, of embracing the differences, right? Like we can point out each other's differences and see them as ways to not, connect, or we can see them as like awesome different notes in a song that we're making together. You know what I mean? Like, so everybody, like at the end there where they're like 4 different ways to solve the same problem, you have so many new, innovative, and different perspectives that can make the painting more colorful when everybody's painting it together.
Correct. Anyone else?
Sorry.
So then now I need to share mine again, right, Mike?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Hold on, let me. There you go. Okay, so let me go next. This is what I was telling you before about like millennials will comprise the majority of the workforce by 2025. So here is where you can see, made by the U.S. Census Bureau. So this is like people like me and like, other of us, we're gonna be retired in like, in 15 years, and some of us will be retired among 5 or 10 years, and then here comes millennials, and they're gonna be actually coming into the workforce. And so they bring, like Mike said, a lot of innovation. The baby boomers are going to be, almost right here, what you can see, are going to be almost out within this amount of years. I think I'm going to be one of those Gen X's that is going to work forever. I don't think that I cannot not work. I'm going to be like even greeting at Walmart or something, but I cannot not be working. So the major factors influencing values development, like we were talking about geography. Jahaira she had a very good point on the 1 to 6 year old imprint is when this is psychologically how they like to think that the brain has developed among the generations up to date. Influencing the values. So a 1 to 6 year old child, is what you teach them, is what they learn, what you imprint. Then from 7 to 12 year olds, they model. You model. They see you modeling, and being the role model, and then they learn from you. So it's incredible how how the development of each of us has to do with the way they treated us, the way they taught us, the way, which we all know that, but it also has to be generational. It is generational. So 13 to 1 year olds they're always, so once you turn 13, you taught them what you taught them. You cannot teach them brand new things. I mean, they will want to learn certain things that are skills, life skills, but when you talk about values in life, you teach them in these areas right here. 13 to 21, they think they know everything. We think like we were little too, and we were young, and we also thought the same way, and we got sick of our parents and everything. So, and this happens right here, and except, like they say that except unless you had a significant emotional event, or you saw a significant emotional event, like something like trauma happened to you, or you had a hard childhood, even like being deprived from food, being deprived from certain things, this will change who you were modeling, who you were whenever you were a little child, younger. So, but a lot of things have to do with this formation, which is the family and friends, the media, formal education, church and religion, income. And we all know that I'm preaching to the choir here about income. If you don't have enough income, you're not going to thrive in the place where you're growing up. Geography and teachers, formal and informal. We always find that person that's going to be our mentor, even if they're not a teacher of us personally, but there's someone that is always going to take the time, or we found someone where we can trust and we identify with and they listen to. So this is how this is how we form. So imagine this happening. I think this is like what I was talking about before, and I think this is one of the slides that was supposed to be in the beginning. But there is a test if you guys are interested. Mike, I'm not really sure if we're recording this because it's not letting me record.
It is.
Oh, great. Thank you. If you would like to test your own implicit and unconscious bias tendencies, there is a Harvard quiz here on this. It is pretty interesting, and it's pretty easy to take, and then you get your results. I mean, it's Harvard oriented, so it's pretty cool. If you would like to do it, whenever I share or we share this, you'll be able to take it on your own time. So I think they're like pretty funny, and so this is how we group each other and people that looks like us. We can be, the attitudes and supporter, and these are things that we already have. But I thought that I will include this here because prejudice is an attitude, unsupported generalization about a category of people, because sometimes people mistake stereotyping by prejudice or discrimination, and they're three different things. The stereotype is belief, oversimplify, or exaggerated image of a group. Or in discrimination are behaviors directed towards people based on their group. So these are things that we, one way or another, have ever, hopefully not experienced, but, more than likely, when you belong to a minority group, it usually kind of like happens to you at some point or another. So I would like to know if anyone can name to me 5 key defining events of each generation. Like, let's say maybe you belong to one generation. Like here, I'm gonna, whoops. Wait a minute, I was supposed to go back. If you can tell me some of the, of the silent. Who remembers the silent? What happened when the silent generation? Do you guys remember what happened back in that silent generation? What happened in the world? What was happening in the world at that time?
I think there was an economic crisis, and also there was war.
Yep, you're right. Anyone else?
I guess that's the building, the time of building.
Yeah. The time of building where your family stay with you to your children, like the more children you could have, the better it was to help you man the farms and grow what you were eating.
Mm-hmm.
How about the boomers? How about in the boomers? What happened in the world during the boomer area?
The 60s, the sexual revolution.
Yes, the liberation of the brass.
Yeah. It was also post-war.
Yeah.
So it was perhaps a little bit more, like there was more like an idea of future. But there's also was war. I mean, wasn't it the Vietnam War too?
Yes.
So, yeah.
So these things, world events, have impacted us. The economic part, didn't the silence, I think they actually also worked. They had to go through the war, and then also they had to go through, what was this, the economy crisis that happened. So the Gen X's, what happened during the generation, which I belong to that Gen X generation. If I might remind you, the silent was 1925 to 1945. The boomers are 1946 to 1964. The Gen Xers are 65 to 76. Anyone knows anything that could have happened in those times? Worldwide events that happened, or United States wide? Like the boomers had the 46 to 64. The Gen Xers were more of when it happened, the hippie era, the liberations. That's when from when I was at 1965 to the 76.
Okay.
So we have Gen Y, or millennials. What happened in this area? It's a very important event here in this area. What happened to this generation? How are they growing up? How are they, what are they doing?
Call in some people that haven't spoken yet. Try that.
Okay. Lisbeth or Van, do you remember, do you know any thing that happened within the 1977 and 1995 in the world that is a very, very, like, here in the United States, we had a huge problem. And that actually I can't hear you, Liz. I can't hear you.
You can type your answer too.
Flores, Leticia, do you know?
No sé, que más que la verdad.
Does anybody remember 9/11?
Oh, yeah. September 11th. Let's see.
Does anybody remember traveling before then, not having to take your shoes off, not having to do that? So the Gen Y and millennials actually are people that don't know, they were raised, they were between television and certain things, but millennials are living in the area of terrorism. How about Gen Xers, Gen Zs, our children now? What happens in society now? Do we worry about shootings in schools? Things that boomers and silent and Gen Xers didn't have to worry about. So Gen X's and Gen Y's are in a different generation where they're like now have to think about, have that in the back of their heads, where they have to go to school, and as parents, it's a nightmare as a parent, but also imagine being a child going to school, to any school, where they think they have to think about it, and it's something that they have to have under their scope, that you can be shot at. So these are the perspectives of people. So this brings us to have certain things and traits on generations, like loyalty. Like the silent, they were loyal. They were very frugal with their money, and they value clear authority. These are the people that you remember saying, because I say so. And that's it. Our grandparents or probably parents of some of us are like, I said it because I said it. They value authority. These are the people that actually, when the boss spoke, it was like, when the boss, the boss spoke, it was a very, very, it was what it was said. The boomers are very optimistic. Why? Because they came from here, because their parents came from here. So they are very opportunistic to competitive, hardworking, and very service-oriented people. Why? Because they were here. They steer away from mom, dad, I don't want to be in the family. I don't want to raise chickens. I don't want to work the land. I want to do something else. So then when they got to working in factories and other places, and when they started working in phone companies and things like that, they're like, I can't believe you don't want to do this because this is the family. And they're like, no, I'm going to take these opportunities. The Gen Xers, they're loyal to careers. That's me. Skeptical and very resourceful, because we were raised from these people. Some of us were raised, some of us belong to both of these. We're independent, adaptable, and creative because of the things that happen historically and the things that happen here. We're like, well, maybe I can make a little difference. Maybe I can recycle. Maybe I can be a little more resourceful. Like, let me see what I can do to change a little bit. And we're a little skeptical as a generation because of certain things that could have happened here. But these people, the Gen Xers, are still people that stayed in jobs for 10 years, for 15, including me. You have a job and you found it there, and then there you are. Gen Y and millennials are realistic. They have pragmatic traits, and they're very tech savvy, energetic, confident, ambitious, and very collaborative, right? Collaborative. And the Gen Z are the little kids that are coming up. I have one of those, which is the cynical, entrepreneurial, frugal, independent, idealistic, competitive, and service-oriented. But guess what? They also are very inclusive, and they don't see certain things. Even the millennials don't see like gender or who you fall in love with. They don't see, they don't see, it's like not, they don't see it. It's like they don't have those kind of, I would say prejudice, or maybe if I'm using the wrong term, correct me please. But these are the kids from Gen S, millennials to Gen Z. Like the younger ones are like the ones that are coming up, where they're going to see a world where doesn't matter what gender or choice you do, you're just important and intelligent, and it's not going to be so much of like, we're not hiring this person because it looks different than we do. So each generation, as you see, has brought the best of each of us. And so little by little we go. So there's some key points here, like the generations are defined not by a formal process, but by demographics, the media, popular culture, market research. This research, the specific cultural impacts that shape the generations vary by geography, but the resulting traits are generally similar. Multiple terms are used to define each generation. Millennials, generations are shaped by shared childhood experience and then defined by early adulthood actions, which is what we talked about before. Like the ranges of dates might vary a bit depending on the source. We use dates created by our HR people, so analytics them for reporting purposes here at the university. So it is, different from other people in other places that we use. Definitions are often used to stereotype, but should be used to understand some predominantly common traits. So what characteristics stood out for you guys? What is important? What things that you think are similar among each other on this presentation? What did you see? Any differences? Did you know some things? Did you learn certain things? Tell me about it.
Can you hear me, guys, by phone now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, I was thinking that the beauty of the human being is exactly the difference. Because can you imagine the life everybody be the same way, thinking the same way? That'd be boring.
Yes.
So something that I believe is important is doesn't matter how different we are. For me, it's like an experience all the time, learning opportunity from each other, from people they got more experience, from people they are like more young and they got more skill, like a computer, stuff like that.
Correct.
So it's a great opportunity, and be open mind and listening, see the life from in different perspectives. Like I'm in the point that I'm right all the time is the best position, because everybody has something to say, everybody has something to show, and everybody has a strength. So this is something that is beautiful.
It is.
Because
thank you so much.
Myself.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Liz. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. So this is exactly what
you
I
were saying. You can imagine yourself what?
I can imagine myself working in a place or living in a place where everybody loves the same color, for example, and nobody also likes another color or another type of dress or music or whatever.
Exactly. Yes, thank you, Lisbeth. That was a great input. Because it's what makes us fun. Like being different, like the picture we see is what makes us fun. Anyone else? What stood out to you? What do you think it is important? What stood out to you in this presentation?
To me is the fact that we still need to be mindful about stereotyping and about discriminating, that us and them, that we're very aware at PASOs, because, participants are part of PASOs. They are not, people on the side. But I think really just the awareness that we still need to be mindful.
Yes, and mindful of the age of the people, of the generation they come from, where they believe, where they come from, being a little more patient because you are not from that other, you don't belong to the same generation, so you need to, like be mindful and patient and tolerant about, what you can do and what you cannot, because some of us didn't learn it from when we were born. Anyone else? Van? Did anything stood out to you? Did you find anything interesting?
Sorry about that. Yes, I found it all very interesting. But at the same time, a lot of it I guess I was kind of aware of it.
Yeah.
It was never really different or strange to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just becoming used to dealing with the millennials and the Y's and Z's.
Yes, and it's correct. It's
and having patience, but I could see, and it's great because definitely that's the only way things gonna grow and develop,
mm-hmm. And go ahead.
Come along. Because even if you see today, kids today, born today, they come out like they already been here, like they've been here before.
Yeah. That's a great way to say it. That's a great way to say it. It is a great way to put it. Yes, like they come out like they've been here before. Exactly.
Yeah, they come out already advanced, and it's like, wow.
And we had to literally take classes and study to learn what they already come out with. So.
Exactly. But they're learning it at such a younger age. But then if you look at it, it was the same way with the difference with our parenting and us,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not unusual. It's just being more accepting and having patience and,
And I might highlight that Van, you are one of the coolest boomers I know.
Thank you.
Yes, you are. You're a cool boomer because you work and then you work with every kind of generation and you work with young people, like you said, and you're also involved. And so your spirit is very young and you're like a cool boomer.
And may I say something also, like I was saying with my experience with Patricia and Maribel, when they see me like having a hard time perhaps with a presentation or with a program, something, I mean, they never come like, they're always there ready. So I really feel, again, we all have things that we can share and teach to each other. And that's what I love about this, opportunity to really work with younger people. It's been amazing.
Thank you. Well, some of it, are like, things that we have learned already in PASOs, listening effectively, sharing expectations with them. The first one will be, here is, we're running out of time. Ask good questions of your employees if you're not sure what they need. It is a very important thing to ask them so you can know where they come from. Listen effectively and share expectations. And so, this is like what we take from here today is what would you do after you leave here today with this little presentation. Add these items to your weekly task list, like new skills must be practiced to be retained. And what would you start doing, stop doing, and continue doing successfully to manage the different generations at work? So this helped me a lot. Like, I'm going to start today. Write yourself a little note. Say, start. This is what I'm going to start doing today. This is what I'm going to stop doing. And this is what I'm going to continue doing. Having this as a goal help us remind, like I have it on a little paper, and it helps me remind myself of, what I need to start doing to make myself better with people, what I need to stop doing to make myself better with people, and what I'm going to continue doing to be better, so it can nourish the relationship. So this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the end of the presentation, and hopefully you enjoyed it, and I hope you took something from it. And if you have any comments, questions, please let me know.
Kathia?
Yes?
Kathia?
Yeah?
Great presentation. And just, you covered the full hour. Touch a lot of different points of view. Well, I believe it was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Liz. And thank you for bringing Brianna into the meeting too. Well, anyone else?
Well, I just want to make sure. Yeah, great job. That was really, really well put together and informative. I wanted to see who is next. Do we know? Everybody needs to know where they stand in the order of coffee presentations. Does anybody know who is August?
You had sent the the schedule, but it didn't have a person. I think it had Myra and myself as the last one, and then after that, I don't know who.
Do you have that sheet handy? I'm trying to pull it up right now, but if you can share it.
Let me see if I can find it. I think I had it on my.
I don't have the paper here right now, but I remember Angel sent an attachment with the list yesterday. So probably you all got that.
Really? Let me see. For the supervisor's coffee?
I think it was.
So, yeah. I don't know for sure who was sending. I thought at the beginning was Angel, but I received it yesterday as an attachment.
I sent it. I sent a reminder from Angel. I sent a reminder yesterday. Let me see. I'm looking for. No, I don't have it here in handy. I had it on my. I had tears of no, I don't have it, Mike. It's the little sheet that we had, but I remember, unless it's here in the Soups Coffee Hour. But if not, maybe we can send it again. Let me see. And then I had it on my desk.
I think I got it. Hang on.
All right, cool.
All right. Here. I'll share my screen. Okay, you guys see this?
Hold on, let me see.
Yes, Mike.
Okay, we had moved a couple around.
Okay.
So
that was okay. Yeah, that was done in July. So and Ruth, I think, will be next, but she's not.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I will remind Ruth about that, and then Maria, I think, moved hers, so I'll have to
Yeah, we have to delete Anna too.
And then, so what we have, we need people to volunteer to take some of these. Some people that haven't presented yet. I don't think Letty has presented yet, or Lisbeth.
Mike, I was thinking December, that'll be good for me.
Okay.
Can you put on December?
Sure.
And that is about giving feedback, Liz.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. You're good at that.
Hey, Letty, how do you feel about September?
Let's see.
Cross-cultural communication.
I don't know. What about training, development employees? Is that the only 2 topics, or can we pick something else?
I mean, if you have something that it needs to be relevant for supervisors, so it needs to be something that will help inform them overseeing a workforce and relationships with those that you're guiding. You know what I mean? So if you have an idea, we'll consider it.
Yeah, we can always change that.
These are just ideas that I came up with.
Okay, set me up. I would say maybe for
October. How about I put you down for this, and if you think of something better, you can change.
You said October, Mike.
October?
Yeah. Give me October, and then give me some time where I could see training and development employees. If for some reason I need to change that, something that would be appropriate for us, then I'll let you know.
Okay. And who else are we missing in this meeting?
Let's see. Well, there's not many.
Ana Cosillo. And Mayra is already. Ana Cosillo was not there. Nora already presented.
Yeah, I'm developing this other sheet right now. This one.
Anna did one previously.
Yeah, see, I'm working on this right now. So I've got Yahaira presented April of 2018, then also she presented in December of 2018, and then Anna presented in January of this year. So it went Anna, me, Nora. I forget who did April and May. Anyways,
we canceled one.
Okay, yeah, I'm putting this together, and I'm going to share this so that everybody has the links after this.
All right.
Okay, so, but Yeah, as long as everybody's kind of aware that they have one upcoming.
Yeah, and we can always be flexible, I think, Mike, with because some of these are metrics and stuff that we know here at the university that are like what we are taught here, but some people across the state don't have the opportunity to take those classes.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the point of these are to do research and work. So like, so when it is your turn, I just want to emphasize that make sure, like Kathia did, send out a reminder, send out a link. You know, it's on you, you know, that if it's your month, you know, take ownership and remind everyone. So good job on that, Kathia. And so everybody, thank you for being here this morning, and hope your day goes excellent. And I'm going to be sending out a nice, you know, update about that best practice, because that's a huge deal. So I'm going to write that up. So that makes us look excellent. So
awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone, and great job. Great job, Kathia.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Guys, bye.